right.
Present.
Todd, present. Stan,
Here.
I don't have to call my own name, I'm here. Do the roll call. That's all of us.
Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is approve the minutes of the previous meeting, May 14th. Minutes are in your packet. Todd, see any issues? Make a motion?
Yes, motion approved.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Roll call?
Holder,
Yes.
Bixler,
Yes. All right, does any member know of any reason to enter into executive session?
They're stunning.
I know of none.
Okay, hearing none, we will move to item number, item 8. Sonia?
We have a proposal from Graham Engineering, $4,120 to get me what I need to apply for our bill grant.
4,120.
Okay, refresh us on what this
So,
gets us.
the last meeting we left, and Ed, I think, had specifically asked that we come up with some 5,000 foot level view of opportunities or options that we would have to come into the park. It might not be as costly as a total loop around the outside and
Yep.
pushing inside. And the question was, we left here just asking, hey, what's a rough estimate, to get some ballpark figures so that we can go out back for bids. $4,100 is what Reverend Graham came up with.
So,
I would make a motion that we authorize that expenditure to get us where we need to be to start the future. Doesn't mean we have to use it. It's just, it's a rough estimate of where we need to be.
okay, this will be a drawing of one potential, that one that we looked at.
With cost estimates of what the construction would cost to do that.
Yeah, rough estimates. Again, the 5,000 foot view, because it's tough, but what he would do is provide that information based on jobs that he's got currently going or has done in the past.
I would second that then.
All right, it's been moved and second to enter into a proposal with Graham Engineering, prepare this document for $4,120. Further discussion? Sonia? Okay, roll call.
Bixler,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
yes. Call my own name.
With that approval, I anticipate us being able to show something for sure by next meeting.
I thought her name was back on. Maybe.
Well, we could just review, I guess.
So you think, it'll be ready by the next meeting?
Yes.
And from what I recall, this is a document you would need for going forward with applying for grants, and that
Yes.
was the main emphasis behind needing this.
So that he knows that it's ASAP.
Okay.
All right. Item number 9 is to approve the contract with ACO. And that is, what is it, your insurance, Sonia?
Yeah, that's your board insurance.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Todd made a motion to approve this agreement contract for $2,775. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further,
Holder,
Yes.
oh, yes.
any further comments? Ladies?
Yes, I do have, no.
Yes.
Not getting started.
Motion carries. Now, ladies, here's the highlight of the evening. The finance report.
Ah.
Finance guru at the head of the table. would like to tell you about our prosperity, which is only just beginning because it's going to get better. Hint, hint.
Financial statement is before you. We had one train in during that time frame. There is nothing of huge amounts of significance in the finances. We're solvent. Our debt is continuing to go down.
I want you to be able to see this. We are quite proud of this.
Our net worthiness is still continuing to increase.
Why don't you tell them where we were, Todd, when we started this deal?
So when we started, we had very creative accounting. Not because we were creatively padding the books, but because we had lots of different interests. So we received a $600,000 grant to start the project. We had a $1 million grant from Commerce that came to us.
I remember that. Yeah.
We had a co-op, a Western co-op, Alfalfa Electric, that came to us with a land deal, $740,000 that was a 10-year interest-free note with 2 years deferred that came through the Cooperative Association through the federal government too. We had $700,000 worth of loans through our local banks. There was a $700,000 shortfall in our budget in order to make us whole, and they stepped to the plate as 5th and 6th and 7th place as far as our mortgage is concerned, behind all those other people. And wasn't a stellar loan, but we've paid every payment. We have
That's impressive.
$200,000 worth of GO bonds that we're paying back, that were backed by the county, but we're paying those back too. So we're reducing, or we're increasing our assets. We were at $3.5 million borrowed, something like that, and we're down to, I forget the total number.
We're down to 414.
414,000. Lots of it done by Martin Marietta and their rock. That's been a primary stay into us, and the TIF district that was extremely helpful in doing that. There was some, within our TIF district, there was some large capital improvements that through taxes have really benefited this project. So we're ready for the next phase, and that's what the drawings are representing.
Oh, okay.
That's what we hope that you all can help us bring to the table as the next phase. We're looking for another industry partner to come into our park and show us how we can grow. We have opportunity to bring water in. We have opportunity we have lots of natural gas. We have lots of electricity from 2 different vendors that are ready to go into the park. So we're just primed and pumped, ready to go.
So the expansion is, I mean, you already have, or that's what you're expanding out to? You're
We'll be
bringing the
seeking
water in.
grants or industry partners to come into the project and to help us with that. You know, you can build it and they will come, but this is a $5 or $6 million expansion project, and so we need to have somebody at the table that could definitely use that rail and show industry and then show prosperity in the future so that we could have income to pay it. Because we're a park that's self-sufficient. We're not supported, although we have huge supports by our county commissioner and our local government. They don't dole out money to us. We're self-supportive in our own self, so we don't like to enter into debt unless we have a way to pay it back.
Yeah, good plan.
They've been extremely supportive, and they continue to support us by buying rock and providing finances when we need it. But we want to be able to stand on our own. Any questions for me?
I just think we're very fortunate to have the treasurer that we have in this operation, because there's not many people that, when did this start?
That creative
When you started it,
financing.
You were in on it before it ever Just give them a brief update. What year was that? When was this board?
I can't even remember.
2011.
15 years?
2002,
Was when
or
the
1,
board was.
2001.
2001 is when we sat down there at El Charles in Winoka, and you said, this is what needs to happen. I said, no way.
Everybody did. Actually,
It was-
Because I remember, yeah, the whole Avard and the grants and all of that back when I was
yeah.
at the city, yeah.
Creative finance.
Creative financing. Awesome creative financing.
Well,
It was a partnership, and I think that's the thing that made it fly as much as it has so far. And we're a long ways from being hugely successful. We're just at the tip of the iceberg. We're lucky to be where we are right now, and we're looking forward to the future.
as board members.
Great asset to have.
Yeah, guys like Alan, myself, and the other two, we don't have to worry at night. We let our heads down.
Right.
Because we have Todd and Sonia. I'm serious now, Todd. No, because they do a wonderful job of kind of steering this ship. And, I don't always say these nice things to them, but since we have guests,
Oh, you're gonna butter them up in front
I'm
of the
gonna butter them up, but it's true. And we do appreciate, you can imagine, this takes a lot
yeah.
of his time,
Yeah.
a lot of Sonia's time.
Yeah.
I don't need my time. Just Sonia's time.
I'm proud of you too, Sonia.
Thank you.
Okay, enough mush.
Yeah.
All right,
You're gonna make me cry.
I doubt that. All right, do we have a motion to approve the finance report?
I can make that motion.
We didn't go over a couple of pages back there.
I read through
We normally
Yeah,
do.
you're talking.
Okay, everything's good? All right, Alan made the motion to approve the finance report. I'm gonna second that, Todd.
I will.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the finance report. Roll call.
Holder,
Yes.
Poe, yes. Bixler,
Yes. Item number 11 is Sonia's time on the agenda to give her report.
One, just before we get into to you guys, one thing that was just, that I discussed with our commissioner and stuff while we're looking at doing infrastructure improvements, we talked about the Garvin Road, and it was suggested that we look at building that road like, I think, was it Craig Road that he did, that Randy did, Randy that used that and put the brine water on top of it. And reason being, because we were asked if there would be, what it would cost to blacktop that, and the maintenance on that, he said, will not hold up as opposed to what they're doing now. And for that 9 miles or whatever, he figured it would be just a little over $200,000. That's a considerable difference than what we were looking at.
So what would that consist of, Sonia? The brine water and then
That
4
rock.
inches of
5
rocks?
That 5/8 rock with the heavy brine across the top of it. So that might be something that we can consider as we're doing it, because that would be the main entrance road while we're looking at these others, especially if you go to doing any staging or something for big equipment. That would be the road of entry.
ODOT approved
As far as,
that, the brine water. He's told me, we
It's
talked
on a
about that
county road.
before. It is a county road.
anyway,
I think it's all right on there.
food for thought though. That's a tremendous difference in what we're trying to go after for build money.
We had gone after ODOT money in order to concrete or asphalt that to the tune of several $1 million before, and that's the reason I was asking the
Yeah.
question.
But they can't maintain that. But however, they could maintain this.
Good idea.
So, food for thought, that might be something doable in addition to this rail, and there's 2 pieces of our puzzle. So,
We have tremendous base. The road is, the base is, you can't busted up with anything, no question about it.
If we don't do something to firm up the top, then every time they work it, they're gonna dig that up and we're gonna have the same problem, so. Anyway, just for you to think about that, we did discuss that.
Randy
Since
did this road down here a mile south of the airport, going west. Be going out toward Weedner's, and
Mhm.
if you ever want to drive it, it's a good example. I don't know if it's had brine put on it, but that's not the road she's referring to. But that road is good.
He was talking to us about that today, wasn't he?
Yeah.
About the limestone, using
Randy.
limestone and the brine. Mhm.
South of the airport. I'll have to
Well,
look at that.
Yeah.
It makes it like, I mean, like
Pingleton.
Yeah.
By
he was saying-
Pingleton's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they built their
it's
house.
amazing.
It's right north of.
That's what it sounded like.
So, food for thought, just wanted to throw that out there. There's a couple meetings coming up that I'll be going to in addition. One is the Governor's Summit, or Economic Developments and Workforce Summit, that's in August. And then something that we talked about at both of our meetings, at least, is census information and how crucial it is for people to participate in the census and how far behind the curve we are from our previous legislature in being able to make that push, because that would help us tremendously. So Dr. Decker and I are already going to contact OEDA, who would be the ones that make the determination on changing census tracts, have them come and talk to us. And I have a meeting that I'm attending at Northwestern where their business department is wanting to talk about private partnerships and how they can assist, and that might be one way that they can assist. We also talked about potentially getting I have to bring back a proposal to my new chairman over here for potentially getting a part-time person for this task specifically to help me. So, which the county thought that since they would benefit, they might be able to help offset that cost. So, with all that being said, welcome Vicki, Timmy. We're glad you
Thank
guys
you.
are here.
What number is this
Hey,
on
for
the
you.
meeting list?
You know, I don't even know, we lost count already.
She knows, she knows. 5.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you having us over. We don't have any major updates, and I know we've met with most of you already, so I hate to, waste your time, but I know one thing today that I didn't have, I was going to just show you the broad overview of the maps, and of course, these are ever-flowing, ever-changing. As we know who's going to take the power and who's going to buy the power, that'll decide on the size we're going to end up with and where we're going to have to do some tweaking. We've also been meeting with Vance and had the environmental studies done, and some are we're having to make some tweaks here and there. So these aren't set in stone, but this is kind of a generic outline for Sundance project, and then this one's the the Freedom project.
So preliminary talks with Vance have been good?
We've had some really great conversations with Vance. They've been very, very helpful, very supportive, and we've so far been able to make a few tweaks that they feel comfortable with and we feel comfortable with, and I think we're headed in the right direction. So yeah. And I just wanted to give everybody one of these. It kind of just gives a little bit of an overview of who Energy is, and we started with gas plants. That's how we originally got started, and of course then into solar. So.
How far, what county road is that by the Rose Valley Schoolhouse? That's as far west,
Comanche.
Number.
Oh,
Would it be on your map?
I was just curious how far west that, I thought it came west to Highway 14, but it doesn't look like.
Have you got, okay, what,
That's
is that
Sundance.
14? Which one's the western one? Sundance?
Well,
Western one is Freedom,
Freedom.
yeah.
Yeah.
which is
That,
That,
this one. Oh, I'm with you. I didn't realize Freedom, it came that far south. That's the difference, okay.
and like I said, these are pretty, pretty broad and ever-flowing, so don't take anything written into stone on the outline,
No,
but
no,
it's
no.
just kind of a broad outline. So, we've submitted the project into several possible off-takers, and we still don't know anything. So hopefully in the next month or two, we'll be back here giving you a better update, but we really just wanted to come meet with some of the county commissioners that we hadn't met with before, one-to-one, and kind of get a little bit more acquainted with a lot of the community leaders, the city manager, mayor, and chamber folks, and just, kind of get acquainted with some people more one-on-one. Let everybody know we're here, and Demi's going to be leading the development for the project, so Demi didn't get to come to the turkey hunt. So,
Right.
So wanted to make sure we got Demi introduced to everybody, and she'll be working on the Sundance project here, so.
And we talked at our meeting today about the open communications, because when they do go to just construction, we want to make sure that our local people have that internet option.
I have a question, not necessarily about this project, but tell me about solar power and what the requirements are to have a solar power field. Like, how does that selection process take place? Obviously, wind,
Yeah.
but it seems like there's a lot of property that would be suited for solar, but there's not that much of it in this area.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So solar obviously takes up, let's say if you have 160 acres of parcel, likely that whole 160 acres will be used. So it's a different conversation with the landowner, of course, because the land use completely changes. Site selection, honestly, we just look for contiguous properties and large swaths of land. Land's not prone to flooding, for example, because obviously solar panels are a little bit more closer to the ground, so that electrical facility is a little bit more, you're trying to avoid floodplains.
Does it have to be close to transmission?
Yes, and it's a little bit more sensitive to losses, so we try to have our points of interconnect on site. You can have a gen tie, that's anywhere, like a solar project can handle up to almost 10 miles of transmission, but not really much more than that. The losses become a little bit economical at that point. So there hasn't been an appetite for it in Oklahoma. We're starting to see more of an appetite, and so Invenergy is starting to look for solar positions within the state, but wind has always been a pretty attractive resource here. So
When you say large parcel, how many acres does it need to be for you guys to be interested? Just, ballpark.
yeah, a project would be competitive at kind of the 200 megawatt mark. And a good metric would be possibly 2,000, 3,000 acres for that, and it just kind of varies by the landscape.
you need 1 to 2% grade, don't you?
It could be more than that, but if you were talking
Take
to our
more acres.
engineer, they want 0%, totally flat, totally cleared land, no trees, that's the most ideal
And
site.
no pipelines.
Exactly, yeah, no,
It's just
Yeah,
well,
you can't build over a pipeline.
yeah.
in this-
Right. Mhm. Right, so we avoid areas of heavy oil and gas activity, and that's just because, if you try to talk to the mineral
Yeah,
estate
that's
owners,
all list.
they have pretty active leases and are trying to maintain that resource for future exploration.
There are, how many solar farms are there?
That's a great question, I'm not totally sure.
There's
Energy
actually
hasn't,
one solar farm in Oklahoma.
oh, really, it's it? Okay.
Besides, there's a small one, like Tri-County Electric has their little 1 megawatt one that they put in,
The one over by Covington?
and then the one by Covington.
It's
Yeah,
only
so
like
that's-
80 acres, isn't it?
Yeah, and those are all, there's no commercial solar to date. These are all small, the only ones in Oklahoma are just small generators by co-ops or, OG&E. So, but I will say, you know, in the PSO regional plan that they came out with in December at the Corporation Commission, they clearly showed to the public that, you know, they intend to buy gas and wind over the next 2 to 3 years. As the federal production tax credits fall off, they intend to really ramp up solar. So, you know, at that 2 to 3 year period, for the next 5 years, we're really going to focus on solar. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because like Demi said, it just takes so much land that, you know, are you going to be able to get the amount of contiguous land that it would take to build a commercial scale, you know? Yeah. So.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success with landowners who want to keep their farms and their family, but continue to ranch, continue to farm. That's the benefit of a wind farm. Solar, obviously,
Right.
yeah, you're,
It's a different deal.
yeah, right.
But we're starting to hear more and more about it, that's what I was
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, I think
That was
you
good
will.
information.
We will,
You
I
definitely
mean,
will.
we start to see the market trends shifting a little bit, and as wind has become more and more competitive, solar has as well. So we're definitely gearing up to build a lot of solar here in the next decade, and we're really, really excited about it. I mean, Venergy definitely has their expertise in wind. We've been building wind projects. We have over 100 operating wind projects to date, but solar is going to be quickly catching up to that.
Yeah, and OG&E is coming out with their preliminary IRP shows no wind, but solar. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's coming.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
So, yeah, well, as soon as we know more, we'll be right here hoping to give you guys a more official update with a timeline. And I think I mentioned this before, but it's kind of a lengthy process still. You know, if we do happen to get chosen as a final bidder on one of these projects, then we have to go through the Corporation Commission hearings. That could take 6 to 9 months. And, you know, that puts us into 2020. Some of these projects need to be live by the end of 2020. So if we don't get Corporation Commission approval until March of next year, or, you know, whatever that timeline looks like, it's really going to put us in a crunch to, Demi, in a crunch.
Can they do that?
To push,
How
push,
quickly
push.
can you put one together?
I mean, you can throw manpower at pretty much anything and hopefully get something done fairly quickly. But something we were talking about earlier today is with the 2020 deadline that Vicki mentioned, a lot of projects, not just in Oklahoma, are going to be coming online. It's going to be all across the nation.
U.S., yeah.
And we're worried about manpower for building wind farms specifically.
The companies that are used to erecting these, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they do 24/7, but,
Material.
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And turbines and, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to, yeah.
Mhm.
A lot has to fall into place in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Are most of the generating stuff still made overseas?
Unfortunately, yes, yeah.
There are a lot that can be sourced here, and
Yeah.
I know they're.
And we do have quite a bit safe harbor as well.
Yeah.
Invenergy has quite a bit safe harbored, which allows us twofold. It allows us to already have access to those turbines, but it also helps us stay in the PTC because we've already expended a certain percentage of the project cost through safe harbor. So, so a lot of those turbines, you know, are already sitting. So, but the companies that Blattner and different, you know, the different big companies that are used to putting up turbines, it's, you know,
Yeah,
everybody's going to be pretty
it'll be their
strapped. So,
year. Yeah.
as part of the deadline with the leases, does that have anything to do with it?
There is a
Expiring.
timeline, there is a length of time that we develop those projects for. But that 2020 deadline is actually tied to federal tax incentives.
Yeah.
Projects
Yeah.
like these could be capitalizing on that 100% of that tax credit as long as they're online by the end of 2020.
right.
And then they'll
And
slowly
then they go
start
to 80%,
diminish, yeah.
60%.
Exactly.
Which is probably a much bigger number than renewing a few leases.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's helped keep wind price is competitive, but even we're seeing now without those production tax credits that wind has remained competitive.
Yeah.
But that's, why a lot of the developers like us, not just in Energy, but a lot of people either started construction back in 2016 on projects or safe harbor turbines and just bought turbines to keep projects qualified and develop them. But that's mostly what they're tied to.
Yeah, on the 2020 deadline.
Yeah.
So as far as the rail park is concerned, it looks like that it might be close to the projects, right? Where it would be very beneficial for you all. That's nothing meant by that, it would be beneficial. Is there a possibility that some of your supplies could be railed in as opposed to trucked in, and would that be of benefit? Have you done projects before that you've railed stuff in as opposed to trucked?
My understanding is we've definitely investigated bringing turbines in by rail. Invenergy, as the developer, doesn't necessarily get too far in the weeds with that because it'll be
The contractor's
It'll be the
responsibility.
contractor's responsibility to, essentially they're insuring those turbines from the moment they leave their facilities until the moment they're in our laydown yard. So it's sort of up to them. They permit the routes. They decide how they're going to get here based on what's available to them. I don't think at a lot of sites typically rail is always available, so it's a
Yeah,
pretty unique
nice asset
situation,
to
and
have,
it is
yeah.
a nice thing to consider. And I know that we
But if
have.
you're laying
that.
down
If this
the rail
project,
park, you're in it.
were to go forward, both of them, would there be one laydown yard, or would you have numerous ones of those, typically?
It would depend on, like we've said a million times, the size of the project, and our footprint too, because having two, one maybe on the north side of the project, one on the south side could make sense, but also I believe we typically have one because they'll cycle through they'll bring turbines, those turbines will go up and they'll bring the next set.
And that would be something you guys would do is basically do the lease on that and have that yard available to the contractor
Correct,
to
yeah.
use.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason if you guys leased a yard in the rail park, that contractor would be more likely to use the rail park.
Yeah, and we'll work closely with the contractor once they've determined how to deliver those turbines and find the best location. Central.
Blattner gonna be the contractor?
That will come, first we have to win the project, so that's definitely the actual bidding of the construction of the project will come once we have a contractor and an off-taker.
Well, the reason I asked, they put a transmission line through 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, they were the contractor building that? Okay, good. Yeah, we've worked with Blattner across the board at so many of our projects, but typically I think it's Rez is another contractor that we use a lot. Honestly, those are the only two that I've heard of.
Rez and
so-
Blattner are usually
Yeah.
about the only two in this region anyway that we see.
Yeah, so it's very likely. We also sometimes use multiple contractors. Some will do the civil work, some will do the erection of turbines. It just kind of depends on who's available and sort of.
Yeah, especially in a time crunch, it may
Right.
be,
Right,
it may be multiple.
Yes.
yeah.
And with a lot of added local subs, I'm sure, or, just timeline crunch,
I think somebody maybe asked you guys this earlier, but have you have a headquarter location in our area, like an office area or something for you guys to be located out of, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, so Demi's looking for office space here in Waynoka and around, so I know Alex Mance was mentioning a couple different spots that are available here in town that we're supposed to go look at tomorrow. And then I think Emily said she checked in Waynoka and there wasn't anything, right?
Yeah. I
That
think
was
she talked to
that was
two
move-in
areas.
ready anyway.
Yeah, and essentially that would be our development office for the duration of the development phase. We will construct an operations and maintenance facility that will be centrally located to the actual sites of the turbines. That's where all wind technicians will be housed out of. We'll have an O&M manager there. So that'll be, further out, but for the duration of development, it's a place for landowners to come sit with me, review site plans, that sort of thing. Maybe land agents.
So how many offices do you anticipate?
Just one.
Two
So-
employees, basically.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It could honestly just be me working out of there.
I
all the
was
time.
visualizing,
Yeah.
well, Blattner's will need it, or somebody will need an office.
And they'll have field offices. I've seen them rent trailers and have them at the corner where they have their daily meetings, go over safety, their safety meetings.
They had a nice office, seemed like in a bank in Woodward, in this last deal. It was, I mean, their main office that everybody came and then they went.
Dispersed to the fields from there.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
I think it really all just depends on what all gets sold. I mean, you know, how much are we gonna be building, right, you know, at one time, and
May have a couple options.
you just,
too.
yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much just a chair and a desk.
Appreciate you girls coming. It's a very exciting project for our neck of the woods. And I think the Rail Park's a perfect spot to show some economic development growth and
It's a nice asset for you guys to have, it
to
really is.
display to
It's
the
a-
community what
It's
it
a good
can do.
location.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
In this project, and even if it's not a long-term project, if it's a short-term, nothing more than lay down would be awesome.
Long-term benefits.
Huge long-term benefits. I think with our association and our proximity to the Port of Catoosa for worldwide access makes even better
Yeah, absolutely.
location.
Definitely thankful to have the option, so.
Yeah, I think as things unfold and we know if we've been officially awarded something and we're in that process of bidding contractors, I mean, we'll definitely get them out here, get them introduced to you guys, make sure they know what's here and available, whoever that is. And, you know, we'll be active on the ground with them to try to get them introduced to everybody and make sure that they know the assets that are available here.
Just so I understand, big picture here, awarded from who? I guess there's somebody in the middle here that I'm not really understanding.
Yeah, they'll be the purchaser of the power essentially.
Okay.
So it'll
Okay,
be the
I'm with
power
you.
purchase
That's-
agreement
Yeah.
that will have.
Yeah, we'd love to just build turbines, but if we can't sell the power, then
Okay.
we're
So
out of
that's-
the money.
That's
Yeah.
the phase.
Yeah. So utilities, you know, go out for bid and, so we're in several of the bidding processes, so. And it could be, I mean, you know, they do it different ways depending on how it falls through, whether we end up operating the facility or whether they, you know, completely own it and hire, you know, a third-party operator to operate it afterwards.
Yeah, we always offer the option because we're close to projects. We obviously have, you know, work to develop them, and we have, Invenergy's been awarded operations and maintenance awards from the American Wind Energy Association for the last 2 years. So we're pretty proud of our record of being able to operate safely, successfully, and especially just inserting yourself into a community that
Yeah, I think one of
is
the,
you guys.
was it you, or a question somebody asked earlier, you know, how many permanent jobs? And we say generally, what, one job per every 10 turbines. So, technician-wise, wind tech, so,
1,200 turbines, 10 pools.
yeah,
It's a good metric, yeah, it's a general metric, but,
depending on the, you know,
Distance.
turbine scale and just, distance.
right.
Okay,
So.
any other questions?
No, but I mean, you'll have our information, that
Yeah.
anything that comes up.
Contact for sure, but we'll be in touch as soon as we,
If there's something we can do
Know
to
any
help you
movement.
guys, then let us know.
well, we certainly will, if, you know, if we are lucky enough to make it through this final process, we'll be needing support, so.
Any member know of any new
Yeah.
business be brought before the board at this time?
I'm sitting in the meeting for the rail.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for
Outside.
closure of the meeting.
Adjournment. I would second that.
any remarks by our citizens? Sorry. What's your thoughts? This is your chance to talk. Before I
He's
pound the
speechless.
gavel.
I have nothing.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Roll call.
Yes.
Holder, yes. Mixler, Poe,